Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney, and today is Monday, February 14th. Thank you for being here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. As a reminder, if you're new here, this is the show where you choose the stories that we talk about because these are the most read stories on our website and our app here at 3 News. I want to start off first by telling everyone I hope that you have a very happy Valentine's Day, whether you are single or attached. I hope that you are feeling the love on this very sweet holiday. Now, we start with an update on a story that was a very big deal last week out of the city of Hudson. You know, a lot of times we hear about public officials resigning with scandals tied to prostitution, but not necessarily like this. The mayor of the city of Hudson has resigned. This is after last week he made comments tying ice fishing to prostitution. The jokes wrote themselves. Everyone was talking about it online. It got national attention. And so this morning, the mayor of Hudson, Craig Shubert, now the former mayor of Hudson, resigned. He submitted his resignation this morning. Here's what he said about it. He said that his comments were made out of a concern for the community and what could become of unintended consequences of new legislation. Now, here's what's interesting here. He said this was based on his prior television news reporting experience. Then he also said that he was trying to interject dry humor to make a point about this in the midst of a cold, snowy February, and he said that he was grossly misunderstood. Now, I'll read you the comments back so you can be the judge of whether or not he seems to have been grossly misunderstood. He said, if you open this up to ice fishing, which while on the surface it sounds good, then what happens next? Does somebody come back and say, I want an ice shanty in Hudson Springs Park for X amount of time? And if you then allow ice fishing with shanties, then that leads to another problem. Prostitution. And now you have the police chief of the police department involved. Just some data points to consider. That line right there, just some data points to consider, picked up by a lot of people joking about that. You know, I said when we talked about this last week that it was like that book, if you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to ask for a glass of milk, and then it goes on this wild road to something completely unrelated. So the former now mayor of Hudson saying that he was joking, it was dry humor, and that it was grossly misunderstood, and then he kind of lambasted people. He said that he was being accused of being responsible for the national negative press that other people were fueling, presumably by sharing the story, because how could you not share the story when a mayor ties ice fishing to prostitution? So, in any case, Hudson Council President Chris Foster said today that the council appreciated the time and dedication of Mayor Shubert, and they respect his decision and wish him the best in the future. But, you know, the situation lives on, the jokes do live on. Hudson's Restaurant and Catering on Friday, they created their own shanty. They have a little ice shanty in their restaurant, and they said the shanty is open, so you can get a drink at Hudson's Restaurant and Catering on North Main Street. They've got a couple special drinks. They have the Lug Shack Margarita, the Gone Fishin' Jello Shot, the Rod Reeler, and Ice Ice Baby. So what will happen now in the city of Hudson is the council will have to appoint a new mayor, and that mayor will serve until the general election in November. So a short-term temporary mayor is coming up quickly for the city of Hudson. Now let's turn to some serious news here in Cleveland. Cleveland radio icon Lynn Tolliver Jr. has passed away. We learned of this late Sunday night. The radio station 93.1 WZAK posted about it on Facebook. They said it's with heavy hearts to share the news that Lynn Tolliver Jr. had passed away, and that was a name that brought big-time radio to WZAK in the 80s. He arrived at WZAK in May of 1982 after a very successful track record at MCA Records in Detroit, and the station wished thoughts and prayers to the people who were close to him at this time. Now, we don't know the cause of death, and we don't know about funeral arrangements just yet, but when we do have that information, we'll be sure to share that on WKYC.com, our WKYC app, and all of our 3 News shows. Now let's take a look at the latest COVID-19 numbers in from the Ohio Department of Health. In the last 24 hours, there have been 1,490 new reported cases of COVID-19. Bit of good news there. That's the smallest daily increase since August 2016. Also, we now know that there are 35,005 confirmed COVID-19, which really seems so long ago. And now we know there are 2,246 people being treated in the hospital, and 463 of those people are being treated in the ICU. Now let's talk about the Super Bowl. That happened yesterday, right? We do know that the Los Angeles Rams beat the Cincinnati Bengals. That was controversial, whether you were rooting for the Rams and Odell Beckham Jr., former Cleveland Brown, or the Bengals, which won the AFC North Championship, and Joe Burrow. He is from Athens, Ohio, an Ohio guy through and through. Also some controversy, though. There were some reports that the NFL had asked rapper Eminem not to kneel during his performance. Now, this is presumably a nod to San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick, who took a knee during the national anthem during the 2016 NFL season and hasn't played in the NFL since. But the NFL is saying it was aware that Eminem was going to kneel. He kneeled at the end of his rendition of Lose Yourself. And league spokesperson Brian McCarthy said that they had watched all elements of the show during multiple rehearsals this week, and they were aware that Eminem was going to do that. So the implication there is that they were aware it was going to happen and did not ask him not to. Now, here is some news that was shocking to me, and maybe it won't be shocking to you, but the Super Bowl is a big production. It makes a lot of money. It brings in a ton of advertising revenue. Do you know how much the halftime performers get paid? This season, that means Mary J. Blige, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Kendrick Lamar, and Eminem, and 50 Cent with the surprise performance. They got paid $0. The halftime performers at the NFL Super Bowl do not get paid any money, and sometimes performers even come up with money out of their own pockets to add to the production. That was the story with last season, with The Weeknd, who reportedly dropped $7 million of his own money, and that production, according to Forbes, estimates say might have cost about $20 million. You know, we typically see productions for the Super Bowl halftime show $10 million, $13 million. Not sure yet what the cost of this particular halftime show was, which was a rare daytime halftime show in the NFL, which was interesting with the games being in Los Angeles. But in any case, here's what we do know. Yes, you don't get paid for performing in the NFL halftime show, but historically, people who do perform have seen a bump in their music sales, in their streaming sales. Like The Weeknd, for example. His music last year, it soared 385% after that halftime performance. That's according to Billboard. And streaming of his songs on Apple Music, those kinds of things, increased about 41%. So that is money paid to that performer. Still, though, shocking to me that those people don't get paid. But I guess if you're on the level of performing at the Super Bowl halftime show, paycheck isn't, I guess, the biggest issue on your mind. But speaking of that halftime show, you know, a lot of people were very excited about it. The kid from Akron, LeBron James, posted about it. He said it was the greatest halftime show he's ever seen. Some people agreed, some people disagreed. A lot of people were very excited about it. Here's the comment that I kept seeing over and over on social media, was that a lot of kids who are gonna see who their parents really are when that beat drops at the halftime show. You know, that was my music growing up. Eminem, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, absolutely loved it. And then a lot of people, you know, in the next generation, right below, Gen Z, that was their middle school music. So it really did kind of span generations. Very nostalgic. It was a good time. I thought it was a good show. My only thing was I was concerned about the people on the back of that sort of house setup. I was thinking, man, it would be nice if they could make that thing spin so that the people on the other side could see what was going on the front, where they had all those cool dancers happening and all that stuff. But I know they have the screens and stuff everywhere, but still, you want to see it kind of as it's happening on the ground if you're there. Maybe those tickets were a lot cheaper. Who can say? But what we can say is that the Cleveland Browns players who were close to Odell Beckham Jr. were celebrating him. Yes, number 3, OBJ for the Rams, did get a touchdown. He also tweaked his knee, and he was out of the game. But before that happened, he did score a touchdown for the Rams, did get himself a Super Bowl ring. So some of the people from the Browns who were cheering him on were wide receiver Rashard Higgins, linebacker Mack Wilson Sr., cornerback Greg Newsome II, tight end David Njoku, and his close friend Jarvis Landry. Here's what Jarvis Landry posted. He said, "Nothing like being at the game, seeing the coverage indicator, and knowing the ball was going to number 3 pre-snap." So Landry was pretty excited. He was excited to see OBJ get that ball and get that touchdown. And Mack Wilson Sr. said this. Here's a question that a lot of people are asking. How can players from the Browns be celebrating OBJ when he left the way he did? Well, he said this. "For some people to be saying OBJ doesn't deserve it, y'all are insane. But also I understand it's the people on the outside looking in that doesn't know what type of teammate he is, what he meant to us as a team, and also what type of guy he was off the field. So please shut up." Those were Mack Wilson's words. not having it, not playing with people who are not here to support OBJ for the Rams. You know, they talked about it on the national stage. The commentators throughout the Super Bowl did say that the Browns basically showed OBJ the door, but the way we all, remember that, what actually happened was, didn't really seem to be that way. Remember, there were those reports that he was asking for a trade. Couldn't make a trade happen, ended up just releasing him. Then he ends up at the Rams. So there you go. What's done is done. OBJ found his way to the Rams, got himself a Super Bowl ring. Congratulations to you, OBJ. And obviously, many of your former teammates strongly supporting you. Something else we have to talk about are the Super Bowl commercials. LeBron James was in one of them in a commercial for Crypto.com. He just signed a partnership, by the way, with Crypto.com and his I Promise school here in Akron, the LeBron James Family Foundation. Now, Crypto.com is all about the blockchain technology, and that's something to definitely look into if you're not familiar with it. But in the ad, LeBron James was talking to his former self. It was a CGI sort of ad, so he talks to his former self back in 2003, and young LeBron James is asking him all about the future and electric cars and watching movies on your phone and things like that. And then he asks him, if the hype is real, if they're going to the league. And then 37-year-old present-day LeBron James says to him, I can't tell you everything, but if you want to make history, you've got to call your own shots. So something about the message there, being brave, going forth into the unknown, ties into Crypto.com. Pretty big commercial, but that was just one of the commercials that was on the Super Bowl. And LeBron James featured in that, the kid from Akron. So, of course, people are clicking on that today because everybody always wants to know what's up with LeBron James, who will be back here this weekend for the NBA All-Star Game that's happening here in Cleveland. It's the 75th anniversary of the NBA. That's the topic of my 3 Things to Know podcast this week. I talk with the CEO of Destination Cleveland and the president of the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, David Gilbert. He's on the local organizing committee. We talk all about what to do, where to go, what celebrities are going to be here, what cool events there are, both official events and unofficial events. Let you know what you need to know in NEO to get where these places are for those official and unofficial events. Also, talk about the real reason LeBron James signed Cleveland Cavaliers' Darius Garland to his NBA All-Star team. James is leading one team, Kevin Durant is leading another team. When you can see that, where you can see that, why the NBA All-Star account is a good follow on Instagram, and also where you need to go to download the NBA event app, which is what's going to keep you up to date on what's going on all weekend long, in addition to our coverage on WKYC.com, on all of our social media platforms, our app, and all of our shows. So keep yourself up to speed. Check that out. Go to WKYC.com/3thingstoKnow. And before we let you go here, let's celebrate the fact that it is Valentine's Day. There were several weddings already today. The city of Cleveland Municipal Court streamed some virtual ceremonies hosted this morning. Those are on WKYC.com. You can check that out. Also, in Crocker Park, there were more than a dozen 15-minute Valentine's Day weddings today. And the city of Akron hosted Valentine's Day weddings from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Akron Civic Theater, which is a beautiful, beautiful location. So congratulations to all of those new married couples on this Lover's Day. Again, remember, whether you are attached or single, I hope you are feeling the love today, showing the love to the people that you love, giving yourself some self-love, all of that good stuff. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. I will see you back here tomorrow with more 3 News Now.